welcome to Runnah, running on Cape Cod, Massachusetts and beyond. I'm Juliana, your host, and welcome back to another live episode of Runnah here at the Falmouth Road Race Expo. This is episode 4 of our weekend, and we are rounding out this expo weekend with a very special guest. We have former pro wheelchair athlete, current killing it wheelchair athlete, WIlliam Lehr. Welcome, William.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I think this is really fun. I'm excited to highlight just like your running history, just a spotlight on another absolutely fabulous wheelchair athlete who's with us for the 50th running of the wheelchair division of the Falmouth Road Race. Super exciting.
Well, it's just so great to be here. I was not at the first wheelchair division of the Falmouth race, but
which was only one person anyway. So.
Yeah, small field.
Yeah, a little bit limited, you know.
But it's amazing how fast the time goes and how the race has grown so much. So it's really great to be back and be part of it.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning though, William. Where does the William running origin story start? Like, did you start running as a kid? Did you start running as an adult? Let's break that down.
Well, I went to school with a lot of other kids who were in wheelchairs, so I got exposed to wheelchair basketball, and we did a little bit of track, a little bit of like stuff like that. So I could always push my everyday chair because when you're a kid, you just really have the one chair. Everybody did.
Yeah, it's an all-purpose chair at that point. Yeah.
You played basketball, you went to school with it, you did everything with the one chair. So I think that kind of gave me a heads up. And some of the basketball players that I got to meet through high school, they were doing a little bit of racing and some other track, mostly wheelchair track. There wasn't really anything going on the roads.
Yeah, like shorter distance stuff, more or less.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been my senior year in high school, I saw a picture of Bobby Hall doing the Boston Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
And for like a kid growing up in a wheelchair, it was like the coolest thing I ever saw. And I couldn't believe that that would be even possible.
You saw someone who looked like you doing something that's like certified badass, I would say.
Yeah. And he was like out there running with regular folks, able-bodied folks. It wasn't a wheelchair-only thing. He was just out there challenging the course and himself, just like all of us.
Yeah, you're doing the same thing that everyone else here is doing, just in the way that makes it possible for you. It's the same thing as like I tried to run on my hands. Like it's like for someone that might actually be a good idea, but for me personally, it's not the best. I could try it, but then I'm not going to get real far. But it's just it makes it so you can participate in things like this, which I think is absolutely fabulous. So you saw someone who looked like you running the Boston Marathon, and then what steps did we take after that?
Well, I continued with my track events, and that summer I did the National Wheelchair Games, and I got to meet Bobby Hall. And we talked about racing, and by then most people were still in their everyday chair with just some variations, using a slightly smaller hand rim on their wheel and having a very simple steering device on the front wheel. So those kind of modifications were happening at about that time. And you know, Bob was there doing the track, and so a lot of us just kind of followed him because he was the fastest guy around anyway. And it just kind of grew from there. There was a summer, though, that I went to the National Wheelchair Games, and I really did poorly in the distance event there. Yeah. And Bob was also at that national event, and he encouraged me and Marty Ball and some other friends to come up to Falmouth because they've got this road race where they're encouraging wheelchairs to participate. And I said, how far is it? He goes, well, it's 7 miles. I said, 7 miles? I've never pushed that far.
That's too far for me.
And then he goes, and it's on the road. I mean, I knew they closed the road and it was an organized event. Yeah. But you don't really appreciate how difficult going up and down the hills are.
After you come off like a flat track and then you're like, oh no!
You look up and you're like,
there.
Wow. So that was a big shift to like adjust your training and your mindset to go from, wheelchair only, running around the track, it's nice, but then to be out there with thousands of other able-bodied runners just trying to accomplish a goal goal together, that was a big thrill for me.
That must have been like emotionally moving as well, too, just because I know what it's like when I run the Falmouth Road Race every year. It's a spiritual experience almost, and to have that be like your first like road race, which was also my first road race too, so we're the same with that.
Cool.
And that must have just been just an emotional experience for you. And maybe, like, do you want to talk on that, like how you felt when you were running that race?
Well, I had no idea what we were doing. We got up here. I think we camped out up the road the night before, and you could get down to Woods Hole a little easier back then.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated now, for sure.
So somehow we drove down to the starting line area. We got out, and I couldn't believe how many people were in this little town. And then they're getting ready to line up the wheelchairs, and they're for probably 10 or more. And I look up, and there's people in the trees, up on the roof, out every window. I couldn't believe it.
There's so many people.
So many people watching.
Yeah.
I thought that was like the coolest thing.
Yeah, there's fans of the sport. They're there. They're cheering for you.
I always knew New England was the hot spot for running. But I didn't realize how
much they're fans of it. Like we are fans of it.
Beyond the Boston Marathon.
Oh yeah.
You know, these smaller races are just so beautiful through these villages. And so it was great. So that was my very first impression was, wow, this thing is really big. I knew that Bill Rogers and Frank Shorter and those runners were here. So that was another big thrill.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen them on TV growing up.
Oh, you get to run on the same exact course that they ran on probably like 10 minutes before you did.
Exactly.
Which is wild.
And just very inclusive. And that's why I've always thought a wheelchair division in public running races was so important.
Oh, definitely.
You know, I started to look at it after that race. I said, you know, I'm not out there trying to take a spot away from another runner.
No.
We're all out here just trying to complete a goal.
Yep.
But maybe I'm pushing up a hill on a Sunday at a race somewhere, and the guy running next to me, maybe he's a personnel employee. Maybe he hires people during the week. And maybe he gets somebody in his office that comes in a wheelchair looking for a job. Instead of thinking of the reasons why he might not hire him, he might remember the guy he ran with on Sunday.
I think it's really important for like everyone to see representation, not only of themselves, like you seeing like other like pro athletes before you start like competing, being able to do that, but also like able-bodied people like myself seeing like and knowing people like yourself who are in a chair or have some other kind of like physical or mental or whatever the disability, however it shows itself, because that gives representation and also shows us like, oh yeah, these are real people. Like we're equally people. I mean, like whether I'm walking or sitting in a chair, you and I are equally people.
And I think that is just so wonderful about the whole road racing experience. And you know, as a kid growing up with a disability, I couldn't imagine how all the major races have large wheelchair divisions.
Yeah.
There are so many other wheelchair sports that are available too. Wheelchair tennis was something that I didn't even really think was possible, but it came about through some innovation in the chair design.
Yeah.
And it allowed people to play tennis in a chair as well.
Yeah.
And so I just see wheelchair basketball was pretty much the first wheelchair sport.
Like the origin story of wheelchair sports kind of like starting up a little bit.
Was wheelchair basketball. I think a lot of the veterans came back after the war, and really that was the only sport that was available.
Yeah.
And then Bobby Hall did the Boston Marathon in a wheelchair. I was like, holy cow, I'm still young. I might want to be part of this.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you like saw that and like you had that inspiration to do that, because I'm sure like whether you know it or not, you probably, the same way that Bob Hall did, inspired like so many other people to like just get out there and try it. I mean, even I saw you yesterday interacting with that kid who came in, who you were like just talking to him about racing and everything. You're a great ambassador for the sport, for sure.
Well, thank you.
And it definitely is like really inspiring for me to see just to see you reaching out to other people to show them like you can do this too. Because that's really important.
It made a big difference for me, and so there's a way we can, inspire others to do more. You don't have to win. I think the physical fitness aspect is so important too, because in a chair, most gyms aren't really built for upper body as much. A lot of leg machines and stuff. So being out there on the roads or using a hand cycle, or I have an indoor roller, so I can put my racing chair indoors. And unfortunately, you only stay in one spot, but you can develop a technique in your stroke and endurance.
I feel like anyone who owns a wheelchair or utilizes a wheelchair is a very innovative person. Like, you have to be very creative to exist in a wheelchair and to be able to kind of be able to accommodate things to how you need them.
There's a lot of thinking ahead, I think, that you develop, because you kind of have to be a step or two
ahead of everyone else, more or less, and anticipate your own needs and be able to communicate to everyone else, like, hey, I'll be coming with my racing chair and my regular chair, so the car that you're transporting me in has to have room for both. And not just showing up and being like, well, okay. Yeah, you can't fly by the seat of your pants quite as much as a fully able-bodied person who can just hop in any car they want,
Right, and use any bathroom that they want.
Oh yeah.
Hotel room or anything like that. So, I think the development of wheelchair sports overall has really helped with the whole accessibility movement in this country. And Massachusetts is a leader in
being
accessible.
adaptive.
Yeah. I mean, you can always find a ramp and a wide doorway in most places here. So.
Yeah, I think it's nice to know that there's so many resources that are currently out there. Obviously we're not covering all of our bases, but it's good to know that those things are out there and they're being developed. And we have Spalding and Achilles and all these wonderful groups that are just making it so people can not only just live their lives but be active in the active community. Like the Achilles group, they do so much with getting people out to races and making sure they have every accommodation that they need.
And they work with such a wide range of disabilities as well.
Oh yeah.
So
which is really fantastic. I love to see it.
I'm just thrilled, the development of the equipment, as I mentioned before, has a big impact on people's independence.
Oh, 100%.
Now wheelchairs can be made for you as an individual. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, they took one out of the box, and if it was a little too big, you put a pillow behind you or something.
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. Now they're all custom made, and that's what gives you the mobility that allows you to, travel and shop and go to school and work and all that stuff.
The things that you should already be able to do anyway.
That everybody does too.
You're just as entitled to all the normal human experiences, no matter what your ability. I believe, but that's just it. Now, when it comes to racing chairs, when did you first get your first official racing chair? Because you said you started racing in your everyday chair, which sounds like that's pretty standard for people when they're starting out. Because it's the same as renting a flute or an instrument before you decide you actually want to play it professionally. If you want to give it a try, rent it, and then once you decide you want to come in, you go for it.
I think that's available now because there's a lot of older demo equipment available for people to try. In the early years, there weren't really any manufacturers. Even Bob Hall came to making wheelchairs a few years later. So most people tinkered with their own everyday chair.
And had little either attachments or just little things that they were able to do with their chair.
Like a little handle on the front fork of the front wheel, and maybe putting a smaller hand rim on the back wheel.
Yeah.
That smaller hand rim, it almost acts like a gear. So once you get that little rim going, it makes the bigger wheel go faster. So it's not a gear or a chain like a hand cycle, but the ratio has changed. To push an everyday wheelchair, you'd have thousands thousands of strokes.
For that one time around on the smaller one.
And yet with the small rim, once you get it going, you can cover more distance.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that in real time. I was like,
Right.
it is like a gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that.
And you know, I think it's actually easier on your shoulders and arms, because if I push my everyday chair up hills and on carpet or grass, it can take its toll a while.
Oh yeah.
But in the racer, because it's kind of built to go forward,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to put as much strain on your shoulders.
Yeah, like that smaller like movement, you have a little bit more just of a fulcrum almost to get it around with less effort.
Yeah.
Which is ideal when you're racing.
Exactly.
You're trying to be speedy about it, you know? It's a nice time. But yeah, when did you transition over to an actual racing chair?
Probably around 82 or 1 or 2.
Okay.
And even that one had conventional kind of front wheels on it, but the chair itself was solid. It didn't fold. Everybody in the early years was still using their basic folding wheelchair, which was everybody used a folding chair for everyday getting around.
Yeah.
So you just modified that folding wheelchair frame because that's the one that kind of fit you. And then they started, again, Bob was one of the first ones to build them custom.
Yeah.
And they were solid. And the rigidity of the frame really helped to produce better speed because you're not losing momentum in the flex of a folding chair.
And even just that, like those little movements of like things not connecting exactly. Like I know how like when I have things that fold up and fold out, even like chairs like this, like there's just a little bit of like side to side motion when you're like doing things because it has that ability to move. But having that rigidity it's kind of like how they started doing like carbon plated shoes almost. Like having that little bit of extra rigidity kind of like pushes you forward.
Right. It made a big difference. Of course, back then people were like, how do you travel with it? But you learn. In the early years, you had to take the back wheels off a lot of times, so you just kept some tools with you. And then they started to develop a quick release wheel, so you could push a button and pull the wheel off. That made travel a lot simpler with a rigid frame chair.
I'm sure also like if you have like a tire pop in the middle of a race, it makes it a lot easier to just like whoop, and then like
work on it and put it back on.
Yeah, that's a smart invention. I approve of that. That's a very smart invention. But yeah, so what was the first race that you raced in your brand new like racing wheelchair?
Well, it was here in Falmouth, probably around 81, 83, and then I got a second one from Bob.
Okay.
And that one had bigger front wheels. That was the trend now. People were going away from the wheelchair wheel size, and somehow Bob and the other manufacturers found small front wheels that were still air tires and very fast and light. So they started to integrate those components into the racing chair. Okay. And it took many years. You know, now when people look at the wheelchair divisions, you'll see the wheelchairs are much longer and have one wheel in the front.
Yeah.
And it took many years to get to that point. I think some people didn't think that 3 wheels would be stable enough under road conditions. But then once they lengthened the frame, the one wheel in the front actually becomes a bit more stable than having 2 wheels in the front that are close. And the older chairs were very short in length.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining from what you're describing.
So the shorter chair, plus people sat higher. You know, it's just kind of an evolution to the point where you see the chairs now with the disc wheel and the one wheel in the front.
Yeah, those look really fast. The disc wheels, I'm like, well, that's badass right there. That's a cool chair.
Yeah, it was quite something. Again, it was kind of pulling from the bicycle world and trying to bring that technology to wheelchair racing.
That makes sense because they kind of have worked on that technology for a while too. So you might like don't reinvent the wheel if you don't need to, right?
Right, and you had to look to the athletes and people who were doing things because the wheelchair manufacturers back then had no interest in making anything like this because
oh no, they're probably like, they probably make like thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of like everyday chairs. How many custom chairs are they making? Not that many. There's like, I'd love to see more wheelchair athletes out there and who are racing, and like, please overwhelm us with wheelchair athletes, but I just feel like there's not as many people requesting these custom racing chairs as like everyday chairs.
Well, there are some great charities out there that are helping to provide equipment for people getting started.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I love that.
But that's an obstacle. I think unfortunately, I think a lot of people who become injured later on, they may not get the exposure to active people that they need.
Yeah.
I met so many people that, through one way or another, wound up in a chair, and they go, "Oh my God, how come we didn't start playing basketball or tennis 10 years ago? Or how come I didn't know about road racing? I liked track when I was in high school. People just didn't know it was available to them."
I feel like there should be like a "now you're in a chair" starter guide.
Yeah.
Where you can just list all the activities that like these are still open to you, and just like kind of providing like where you can find the adaptations that you might need for that specific activity. We should do a starter pack.
Yeah.
I think that might be a good idea.
I think it's important because so many people spend a lot of time not moving forward after an injury, and it's understandable in a lot of ways. But if you can meet people who are independent and have gone through a lot of this stuff already, it can make your transition to going back to work or coaching Little League or whatever you did before.
Yeah, I think the world is still wide open to you.
Yeah.
No matter like what your ability is and things like that, I definitely think that like being able to just like see other people who are doing these things, that just makes you realize like, oh yeah, I can do that, can't I?
Yeah.
Which I think you definitely played like a big role in that.
Oh, thank you.
You've been such a prolific, like long term.
I love this race. This race is so great, and I did it a lot when I was younger, and then I spent a lot of years doing some other things. Sometimes it happens, but then I got a chance to come back in '07, and that was my 30th anniversary. So
of this race specifically,
of doing this race, because my first one was in 1977.
Wow.
And I did maybe 8 or 9 between then and '07. So when '07 came around, I said to Marty and some other friends, I said, "Hey, it's our 30th anniversary of doing this race.
Yeah, we gotta do it. Come on, friends.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's get back there."
Yeah.
So we did, and it was great. And I kind of said to myself, I'm going to try to get here as often as I can for the next, I'll think really far ahead, 10 years. I'll see how many times I can come back.
We're committing to it.
I just felt that it was right, because I already was over, I'm not winning. I like the physical fitness aspect, and I love it up here.
It's just fun.
It's just fun. It's a great town. The whole vibe is super. And so I've been fortunate to come back a lot since then, and pretty consistent since then.
Yeah. So what number will this be this year?
I gotta really sit down and calculate, but it's probably 25 or 6.
Wow, that's honestly very impressive.
Thank you, but I did have a big gap where I didn't come up, but those guys were getting so fast back then. I was like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, I don't want to show up and be like showed up by these guys.
I'm still young, I'm getting blown away, but now I just am so happy to be part of it, and I don't care where I finish, and it gives me it kind of grounds me as far as making the time to train. Even if I'm not winning.
I'm someone too who needs a goal. Even if I'm not planning on winning, whatever the thing is, like I'm training for something.
You have to practice. You have to, especially for this race, because it's so rewarding, because it's so challenging, and so you practice from the spring on to get here and to compete and do well. And then move on with the rest of the season.
You got heat, you got sharp turns, you got hills, you got the sun breaking down on you.
You got the wind. One year they had a big rain, and so the race was delayed. So they got the fire department to suck the water out of the intersection. But it was great. It just happened.
It's a pretty well-oiled machine here, I would say.
Yeah, it sure is.
It definitely is exciting.
Except they don't let people hang out on the roof and the tree freeze anymore. But.
No, that is no longer allowed. It's wild for me to look back at the old pictures of the Falmouth Road Race, especially the finish line area, and one, see which structures are and aren't there, and two, also to see just the number of humans who are like got picnic blankets on roofs. I'm like, oh my gosh,
No.
that was just allowed. Crazy.
And the beach was full of fun, and it was just, it still is great experience.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite part of the Falmouth Road Race? Either like part of the race itself or part of the race weekend, or both?
Well, coming down the hill from the lighthouse is great, and then
That's one of my favorite vistas in Falmouth.
Yeah.
I have like 3 top vistas. That is one of them. Specifically from that direction. You take it back the other way, it's also very nice.
so I enjoy that very much, and of course the 2 or 3 miles flat right along the water. I like that a lot.
Just cruising.
Then it gets a little crazy with the turns and the hills, and then once you get up that final hill, which is, from a chair's point of view, it's a little tricky. The course, you kind of come down, you make a quick left turn, so you're not really going that fast. You have to kind of slow down with the chair to make that final left turn, and then you only have a short little straightaway to build up momentum to go up that final steep, sharp hill.
I don't know how you do it, because like even when I'm running half the time, because I live in town, I'm just like, oh no, and just imagining like having to do that in a chair, I'm like, oh gosh.
Especially after you've done, a whole bunch of race already. So.
And you're like 6.5 miles into your 7-mile race too, and you're kind of just trying to like redline it, but not really redline it as much as you can, Get the most out of yourself.
Right.
And it has, and no matter how many times I run that last hill, even like just when I'm just like running randomly, like on a random day of the week living here, I always forget that there's that like second little turn before you get to the top of the hill, before you go down, because I feel like when you get to the spot where that used to be, you remember where there used to be that like fake, almost fake finish line that they used to take pictures in front of, people used to stop on? Right past that initial hill, there's that extra little like bump up.
Yep.
I always forget that that's there.
Yep.
Even when I live in town, I run that hill all the time.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. But once you get past that second little rise,
it's all downhill from there.
From a chair perspective, it's great. It's just fantastic.
You're just like coasting all the way down.
You can't possibly push the chair as fast as you can go down that hill. So
that's even like with me being like an able-bodied runner. I let the gears and the wheels go off. I just let my legs do whatever they want, and we just like roll it down the hill.
Yeah, and it's great. And especially at that point, there are so many dedicated fans that are there.
Oh my God, yeah.
The yelling and screaming in your ear. I can, after these many years, you can still hear it. So on that cold, windy day at home where you're practicing, I do kind of think about, in August, there'll be people yelling and screaming the whole way. Just for it's great. It's great.
We have really great crowds here. They're a lot of fun. I'm like getting goosebumps thinking about it now because it's tomorrow. Because it's just so much fun, and it's like the whole community comes out to support you and to support everyone who's running the course. Because I was telling someone earlier today that like this is such a global race, but it's also such a local race. So like it's not only people from like all over the globe who are coming to run this world-class race, but it's also like all my neighbors who are here, and like the people who live on the course, so they just like step out and cheer every year. There's just a level of like camaraderie amongst that, and just like welcoming, I would say.
Definitely.
And it's so wonderful.
It's great, and I think the origins were to really help support the high school track teams.
Yep.
And
that's where the Falmouth then track club, now running club originated.
Just wanted to help the students with their running career and maybe get into college on a scholarship or whatever, and now you bring people together from all over the world. And, I wish I could stay longer because you got a week's worth of restaurants.
There are a lot of restaurants down here.
Don't have enough time for them all.
Yeah, it definitely. Do you have a favorite restaurant?
Well, I have to tell you the quarter deck is great. Of course, it's been there forever. Enjoy going there.
Oh yeah, I love the ambiance in the quarter deck because it really feels. I'm like, no, it feels like you're in a ship because it really feels like you're in the hull of a ship in there.
And I got to chat a little bit with Tommy Leonard there a few times. So that was a big thrill. And the Italian place across the street I like.
La Cocina, or is it the La Couchette, the little tiny one
It's the one
with the owl on the sign, or no?
Lucacina Gasor.
Okay, yeah, that's a little tiny.
Yeah.
That's a little small one with like the little tables and the little like lights on the table. It's like, ooh.
And the Irish pub is a lot of fun too.
Oh, Liam McGuire's?
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have a lot of like really great restaurants down here.
So, I enjoy that a lot. So I don't want to forget anybody, but
Well, shout out all the Falmouth restaurants in general.
yeah, I just never have enough time to visit everybody. So
Yeah. Do you have like a specific post-race like routine or like celebration kind of thing that you do every year?
well, this year they're having a tremendous party after the race, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Is that because it's the 50th running for the wheelchairs?
Yeah. So
Love
I'm
that.
really looking forward to that.
Nice.
I usually find myself having a pint at the quarter deck on Sunday afternoon.
That's not a bad place to land.
Yeah, and then I'll maybe get an ice cream on the way back to the hotel.
Oh yeah, you stop at, are you like a Ben and Bill's person? You a Gelfies person?
We used to stay very close to the Dairy Queen, so I'm still
okay.
partial to the Dairy Queen.
Okay.
I don't think they have one on Long Island, so I like going there.
Okay, nice. Well, that's a lot of fun. I'm excited that they're doing another special. Like, they're really celebrating the wheelchair athletes this year, which I think is wonderful. It should be happening every year, but it is nice to be able to have this like kind of platform to really showcase what you guys are doing.
It's great, and Falmouth was such an innovator with the wheelchair division and everything else as far as the way middle distance running goes,
Yeah.
So it's just great to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're running this year. Like, I think it's wonderful. And I'm so glad that we got to chat about it too.
Me too, it's been a big thrill. Thank you.
I think it's great. Do you have any like sentiments or like a mantra or like any last thoughts you'd like to leave with anyone who's watching this to get them jazzed up to run tomorrow?
Well, it's going to be great weather tomorrow. We're going to have a great time.
It always is.
Yeah.
Both of those things.
Yeah. And, when I finish this race, I feel alive.
Same.
Then 2 hours later, maybe I'm looking for aspirin. But shortly afterwards, it's a great sensation,
It is a good way to feel alive.
Yeah.
You're like, not only you moving your body, but you're just like that energy from the crowd and like all the other runners around you. It just like reverberates your soul, like just like rejuvenates it.
To me, I know that big hill is coming. For the whole race, you're out there doing your best, and you just wonder, have I saved enough for that final assault? And then once you're able to do it,
you let it rip down the hill.
Yeah, that's great.
It's so much fun. Well, William, I'm excited to. I'll be watching back the replay of you guys, because you'll finish before I even start. So,
all right.
Because I'll be in the mid pack for the runners, so we won't be able to see you guys because they don't have a big TV or anything for us to watch. But I usually go watch the replay afterwards just to see how everyone did. So,
well, being in the middle of the pack's got to be a big thrill too. So.
It's a lot. For me, it's a party. It's all my neighbors are coming out to cheer for me every summer. It's a lot of fun.
That's great.
So
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's about community. It's about just like getting out there and doing it with people who are just achieving something big. Okay. And William, if anyone wants to find you, do you have like a social media or a website or anything like that? If they have questions, or an email if they have questions for you?
Well, they can always get through. You can always find me through the Falmouth, organizing committee.
Yeah, through Matt, who's our adaptive athletes coordinator.
Matt has done so much good for this wheelchair division.
He's a good dude. I like him a lot.
It is just sensational what he's done, coordinating and growing the wheelchair division. It just goes to show you need to be a third grade school teacher to handle the wheelchair athletes. So
I was gonna say something about like being a teacher is like definitely something that helps, because he's like, I feel like his greatest strength in that is being able to meet everyone where they are individually, like he does with his students, and he does with everyone else in his life too. And that's a good guy. We like him a lot.
He's done so much good for this race in the bunch of years he's now been part of it. So it's been a consistency that has really benefited the wheelchair division.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic, and I hope that he continues to be part of it, and I hope that you continue to be part of the wheelchair division.
Well, thank you.
I'm so excited. Like I really wish that like there was some way for me to cheer for for you guys at the finish line, but also run the race at the same time. But I'm going to be cheering like while I'm watching it back, and also like while you guys are running too.
Okay, great.
But I'll see if I can find you guys afterwards too to make sure you guys are.
Maybe we'll see you in town or something afterwards.
Yeah, I'm always walking around everywhere. You know, I just be out here doing things. It's a lot of fun. So okay, well that was fantastic, William. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep, and we'll just sign off. Friends, if you'd like to find me, you can find me at RunnahPod on Instagram and runnahpod@gmail.com. And we'll see you on the next episode of Runnah. Bye, everyone. Nice job, William.
Is it okay?
Yeah, you did great.
Okay.
That was fantastic.
Okay.